If it was on the table, you got to pick one, empty net goal to break the record or carry it into next season, would you take the empty net goal for that moment?
Alexander Ovechkin, 35 goals on the season, and this will be a conversation in which I bring up the kind of what happened to scoring, our goals out this year. Ovechkin, we thought was going to break it this year. He's got 12 games left to do it. He needs 7 goals in 12 games. He has scored 0.64 goals per game this season, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, but 0.58 since the injury.
Oh, 0.58 since the injury. All right, so let me do the math on that, because normally
it's 0.55 since the injury. 0.58 would get him to the record. So he's under the.
No, it wouldn't.
I believe it would. I did the math this morning.
One of us chunked the math. 0.55 times 12 is 6.6. So it would get him closer to the record, maybe is what you were crunching.
Oh,
I could be wrong on something too.
0.58.
0.58 would get him like exactly as close to the record. It would get him 7 goals.
Podcast hosts do not have a great grasp on math, which is
okay. My math said
like
0.64 goals per game with 12 games to go. Oh, would get him 8. So that would get him the record. So 0.58 would get him to tie it.
No, he needs 7 to break it.
He needs 7 to break it?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe. Oh, boy. This segment is brought to you by Natural Stat Trick.
The website has him as like 7. It has his like goal tracker listed as 7. So I would assume that's to break the record.
That's to break it.
Yeah, I guess we could look that number
up. I mean, we could just
was efforting, just so you know, this year the goals per game average in the NHL is down to 2.99 from 3.08. It's the lowest in the last since 2020, 2021.
Okay, he is 6 goals away
from tying it.
So 0.55, yeah, Pete, would break it. Just my number needed was off.
Because that gets you to 6.6. 0.58 gets you to 7.
Well, it's really 6.96, but yeah.
Too many
6.6
right
is
now.
7.
Is it though? You can't score 0.6 goals.
Do you know about rounding up?
Yeah, but like you can't round up
5.
a goal.
Yes, you would. You would do if it's 6.501.
I don't know. I feel like rounding up is like a weird situation.
Where Pete is coming from.
But in this case, if you're projecting, you would round up.
Yeah, I guess ultimately it comes down to it's kind of a crapshoot on that last one.
Yeah, okay, fair. And so it brings us to the bigger point that like it's getting so close. We're like really doing the crazy math to talk ourselves into he's still got a chance this season. And I don't think any of us are out on him doing it this year. You sound like you're like a little bit skeptical.
Oh no, the worry should be on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with that.
The worry has been on for me since this morning when I was showering and I was thinking about this.
All it takes is one game.
Yeah. Yes, and he scores
needs
in
one
chunks.
of those games. Yes.
He scores in chunks. He's playing the Bruins. I thought that he might break it against the Bruins. He might not break it against the Bruins. I mean, he will not break it against the Bruins, but if he breaks it this year, he's going to have the Bruins to thank.
He's got some asshole teams. I mean,
that's the thing.
2 games against the Islanders, 2 games against the Blue Jackets, which can be hit or miss, the Bruins, the Sabres, final game against the Penguins, like a game against the Blackhawks. Like he definitely, if he scores 5 goals in one of these games, I'm not going to be surprised.
Before somebody in the chat says it, we do grab ass and ass math.
Yes.
Yes.
Here's the thing. April 13th. April 17th is the last game of the season. It's against the Penguins. We've talked about how cool it would be for him to do it right in Crosby's face. That game's on the road. April 13th is the last game at home. I want to see him do it at home.
Of course, but that doesn't matter. That's like they're not going to. We think that they will not have him score it on an empty tie or break it on an empty netter. We think that they just don't want that moment to be done in that way. And they're not going to be playing for anything. They're going to have the number 1 seed and probably the President's Trophy already sewn up. I think the farthest they will go with trying to cater to the moment is just making sure it doesn't come with an empty netter. I think other than that, I mean, teams famously win the cup on the road. And that is the biggest moment in...
It'll still be electric no matter where he does it. It'll be so much more electric for it to happen at home. My thing on the empty netter is at what point do you shift from thinking about that to just making sure he gets it done this season?
Yes. Right. We talked about this before the show, and we're in agreement that if there were no time crunch, obviously you do not put him out during 6-on-5. But if you want to get it done this season, you need it. And in the meantime, get leads, play close games, Capitals. Like the next 4 games, brother, be up by 2 goals.
No one cares about how you got
with 2 minutes to play.
Yeah, how no one cares with how you got to like within 1.
893 don't matter.
I will say this. I think him doing it, obviously you don't really get to pick or choose. Like him doing it against the Penguins on the road, I think is way cooler than him doing it at home.
Here's what I will caution though. As somebody who has lost money because of the Penguins at points this season, I don't want to say that they're spoilers, but counting on the Penguins to suck this year has not always been fruitful. And I don't just mean financially. I mean, like I went to the Bruins game where Nikita Zadorov was tickling Gino's ass with his stick from the bench. Penguins won that game. I think they won that game 2-1. Like last week against, or on Friday, I watched that whole game against the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets needed those points. They won. The Penguins won that game 6-3. There have been a lot of games this season. The Devils game, the Blues game recently, like teams that are either hot or badly need points. The Penguins have been sneaky spoilery. So I would watch out for saving it for the last game.
I don't think the saving it is on the table at this point. You just do it whenever you can do it. But you also what are the Penguins going to have to play for in that last game?
If having Ovechkin have a big moment.
If he's on the precipice of breaking the record, that is going to be like their sole purpose.
It's their Stanley Cup.
It's their Super Bowl. It's their Stanley Cup. They are going to put like 4 guys on him the entire game.
Also, I've seen the stat floating around. I feel like it's been very quiet. Sidney Crosby's like the best 5-on-5 player in hockey this year.
Oh yeah.
So like, it's not like they're like, and I feel like Sid, I feel like out of both a kind of hatred of the Capitals and respect for Ovi is going to be playing his ass off in that final game, especially if the record's on the line.
Let me ask you this. If it was on the table, you got to pick one, empty net goal to break the record or carry it into next season, would you take the empty net goal for that moment?
Are we assuming it's coming against the Penguins? Because that kind of changes it for me. If it's coming against the Penguins, I'll take the empty net goal. No one's going to, I mean, obviously people are going to give a shit, but it's going to suck so bad if it's just game 1 against the fucking like Islanders or something next year. Who gives a shit?
Oh, see, I like that.
What's more anticlimactic, an empty netter, or I think you got to beat a goalie. I do. It's be so anticlimactic for him to get it on an empty net.
So is like doing it 3 minutes into the first period of game 1 against an opponent no one gives a shit about.
No, I think as long as people are, and they will not be, talking to USPN, as long as people are measured enough and keep it 1/8 in their pants about hyping up the season with Ovechkin's going to break the record, like opening night, ESPN, Ovechkin going to break the record, like we're all going to be watching the first game no matter what, but having the juice of, in the first week of the season, we watch Alexander Ovechkin break that record. That is a great way because I don't think that right now the NHL needs much help promoting their product coming off 4 Nations. Playoffs are here now. Everybody's excited. Hopefully people are watching that anyway. I think saving it for next season is not the worst thing in the world.
That's actually, I hadn't considered the excitement around the beginning of the season. Like you consider it as like meaningless or whatever, but like in those first couple weeks, the excitement for hockey being back is crazy high. And so to have Ovechkin on top of that, it could be a lot of fun.
Well, the only thing I will say is that like, if we're waiting until next season, I would rather him just stop scoring goals right now. Like, give me a 7-goal chase to start next season as opposed to just having 1.
No, because then you get the opening night.
Yeah, I'm cool with this.
Yeah, but then that's just like...
Can you imagine what the official will say before he drops the puck? All right, Pierre.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, look over.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and you over there. Yeah,
I just don't want to deal with the entire summer of this being talked about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I would rather just get it out of the way. Obviously, empty netter is not ideal, but like you go empty netter, Ovi or Sid on the ice in the last game of the season. Like, plus if you do an empty netter, just like fuck the last 30 seconds of the game. Just end it and do your celebration.
It's also, Sean, this will fall on deaf ears for you, but saving it for next season is massive. 96% done with Cold Harbor energy.
That's true.
Where seemingly in Severance, Mark did no work all year, yet was very close to finishing the biggest project of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And we will spend, because like for the last like 4 episodes before the finale, they were like, he is so close. He's going to do it. This will be historic. I wouldn't hate a summer of saying the same fucking thing every day about how close Alex Ovechkin is.
No, thank you.
Kirk making something interesting. I think the like how do you think what they do in the if he doesn't finish it this year, what they do in the postseason affects like the hype around? Because like if Kirk throwing out the idea of him winning the cup, of them winning the cup, and then him scoring it the day they raise the banner, like
or
that's
what if they flame out in the first round?
Also that's what I was like. How
Opening
does
night
what
merchant.
how does what happens in the playoffs affect
Nathan
the vibes
McKinnon's
around?
hard
Yes.
candidacy.
It does bring up the option too. If it carries into next season, what if he breaks it in like the first quarter of the season or like the first couple weeks of the season, and he's just like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And he just bounces.
Well,
That
that's
is
kind
a
of-
that is, I think, is a fair concern.
Especially if they win the cup, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm going back to Russia. I
I
need
don't
this.
really think that's a concern. Like, I think that he loves hockey
I
enough
think he'll
that he would
finish any
not
season he
fucking
starts.
bail on the
Yeah.
Capitals, but it would be very funny.
It would.
We all silly like the mayor.